I have seen numerous students making mistakes related to active voice and passive voice. So I've decided to make this video to explain voice. You can find numerous articles on the internet regarding active voice and passive voice. The purpose here is not to explain the two of them. The purpose is to explain when you should use them. When you should use them. So, when you should use active voice and when you should use passive voice, that depends upon a number of circumstances, and I'll discuss them in detail. But before that, there's a link below this YouTube video. You can click on it and read my article in greater detail. That will be more enlightening. So what is active voice? Now, in a nutshell, active voice is one in which we have a subject. It is followed by an action, which is essentially a verb form, and there is an object. Passive voice is inverse. There's an object. This is followed by an action. That is a verb part, and that is followed by a subject. Now I will go into the details of by, being, how you should use them in this sentence formation. I'm sure that you can find numerous articles explaining these things. The point here is to understand when you should use the voices. So if your focus is on subject and you want to talk about the person who is doing the action, not about the thing which is being acted upon, that will be very clear in a few moments. So in that case, you should use active voice. But if your focus is on the object, not on the subject, the person doing the action is not important. There may be situations when the person is absent from the picture. So the subject is not there, but the object is. Your focus is the object. For example, a coffee machine, a report, or a laptop. So the subject is, for example, your father. You want to buy a laptop, and you want to buy it from your father. So your father is going to get it. Finance the object. So, but you don't want to talk about your father, so you want to talk about the object. So in that case, you will use passive voice. This will be pretty much clear in a few moments. Now let us first come to why you should use active voice. Active voice, unlike passive voice, consumes fewer number of words. Passive voice consumes more words, and there's a principle of brevity. The principle of brevity says that you should try to communicate the same idea in as few words as possible. So if you're taking more words to convey the same idea, that is not recommended practice. And if you're taking an exam, you may lose bands for that. So that is not an attractive piece of writing. So if you're in a business communication, you may not be able to put a strong impression if you're using a passive voice. With active voice, you will consume fewer words and it will make a better impression. So let us see these two examples. I've written here that generally the passive voice consumes more words than active voice to communicate the same idea. While in the active voice, a subject performs an action. In passive voice, subject receives an action. So that is pretty much clear over here. So for example, I believe that the Trump administration is following protectionist policies. So I believe changes into it is believed by me. This is a passive voice. So the verb takes the second form, the tense is present, and you're using by me. The subject is placed after the verb. So the order has changed. Here is the it is believed by me, the object, verb, and the subject. That professional policies are being followed by. So this is again a passive voice. Is following. Trump administration is following protectionist policies, and protectionist policies are being followed by. So the subject who is performing the action is placed at the end. It is not placed in the beginning. Okay. Let us come over here. In his earlier tweet, Mr. Elon Musk said, or it was said by Mr. Elon Musk. So you will notice that the number of words are increasing. 3 to 5, here 2 to 5, 4 to 6, and the number of words here are 10. The number of words here increased to 15. So as you move from active voice to passive voice, the number of words increase while the idea that is communicated stays the same. Okay, so there's no change in the communication, but the number of words has increased, so it violates the principle of brevity. Now let's move from here to here. Active voice, 3 words, Mr. Elon Musk, and passive voice, it was said by Mr. Musk. So let us remove Elon from here. So it was 2 words, and it has moved to 5, from 2 to 5. He was considering, or was being considered by him, 3 to 5. So the number of words are increasing, and that's precisely the reason that if the message stays the same, you need not move from active voice to passive voice. In general, we use active voice, but there are situations in which passive voice cannot be avoided. What are those situations? Now here are 2 situations. Firstly, if you want to focus on the action, the object, then you should use passive voice. So as I said earlier, active voice is subject followed by verb followed by object, while passive voice is, let me write it down. It is object followed by verb followed by subject. Now this is not simply an arrangement. In English language, it shows the order of precedence, the order of importance. So if you're giving more importance to the subject and less to the object, then you should use active voice. But there may be situations when passive voice is mandatory. So you want to lay more emphasis, lay more importance on the object, and you want to somehow avoid the subject. That the subject is not important. The situation is more important than the actor. So in that case, we are compelled to use passive voice. Let me give an example over here. Suppose you are a politician and you are losing votes. So there is a situation in which the government is in a tight situation. So if you use the active voice, the government is seriously considering the report. Perhaps that's a negative report. So the government is seriously considering the report. So that lays emphasis on the government. So the journalists and the public may focus on the government. Now you are pretty shrewd, you are sharp, and you want to put focus on the report, not on the government. So here's what you're going to do. Passive voice, the report is seriously being considered by the government. So the focus here is on the report. It's not on the government. Okay, so you can also avoid, in this case, by the government. And what the sentence would be? The report is being seriously considered, or report is seriously being considered. So what you've done is you have taken government out of the picture. So in passive voice, you can do 2 things. You can put object, verb, subject, or you can just stop at the subject. You can completely avoid you can stop at the verb, and you can completely avoid the subject. Okay, so in that case, you will safely omit the government, and you will prove to be a sharp politician. Now, you don't want to name the subject. That's another situation. As I've just said, over here you can avoid naming the government. Here you don't want to name the subject, so you can simply say the price of coffee was increased by 20%. Okay, so you have comfortably avoided naming the subject. Who is the person who increased the coffee price? Well, you have avoided it. That's a diplomatic situation, and you are comfortably staying out of the conflict. Okay, even in English as a second language exams, IELTS, OET, there may be many other papers, exams in which you can use the passive voice to communicate the idea more clearly. Particularly in IELTS, IELTS Academic Task 1. Passive voice is very beneficial. I hope you liked the video. Do not forget to click the subscribe button and share the video. Follow my website. Click on the link below this YouTube video. Thank you for watching.